lecture deliberately for the convention. And I'll tell you how I plan. Today, I will give you a general overview in the most summarized fashion. The Solas is more than 570 odd pages. I'll give you an overview what the chapters deal with, how you're going to deal with, And then next lecture, which I have on uh, Friday, what I will do is that I will take the specific question for the past 10 odd years which have come regarding this wallet. वही तीन चार क्वेश्चन है the पांच क्वेश्चन है बट घुमा फिरा के आ रहा है you already have it with you but again you have it in the Q&A so that's a huge document again I will to the April May and June that by I think tomorrow or day after I will re-answer that question in a simplified manner so let's point is taken care of so I'll tell you what are the questions the steering gear requirements the the muster requirements. What are the amendments which have come in the past 3 years? Very common question. All that. It's there with you, but I will take it out from the solar point. And then what are the additional safety measures for bulk carrier as per solar? These 4 or 5 points. I will not only be sending you the note, I will be discussing that in the next lecture. So, are you with me, guys? With the
Yes, sir.
approach. Okay, great. So let's. So it's a summary of the convention. First thing that we need to understand there are 14 chapters in solar today as we talk. I believe, you know, uh, okay, the focus of all of the scholars is more in the ASM level because let's face it here, ASM there is only one paper that is to do with law. So वहाँ पे तो whether written or oral everything is not. But I'll tell you the kind of questions you take a seat. The first question the survey put ISF code is a big chapter of solar. Now, if you start thinking he is gone on a tangent, I'm not saying you have to memorize. The way I'm going to do the thing, once you read the summarized version, which I think I may have edited it in past 2 3 days, which I'll send it to you. And you read it 2 3 times, you will virtually remember it. We have gone beyond the stage of memorizing. So technical provision, 14 chapters, and as I've said, any convention, IMOs or ILOs, they set the basic minimum standards. The solar is the most comprehensive one, which sets the basic standards pertaining to two things. One is safety, all aspects of safety and security. When the Solas, what we are doing today is was adopted in 1974 at IMO. You know, terrorism activities had started showing their face very little. By 80s, 90s, it was a whole full bloom thing. It had proliferated. So at the time of development, the objective was to safety and security. That is the reason, I mean, we have done the word protocol, that when ISPS code was added to that chapter, it didn't come as a protocol, it came as an amendment because it did not change the face of the convention, but security was already part of it. It is being added today, but had it only been safety, then adding of chapter 11 to 11-2 dealing with security ISPS code, it would have 100% come as a protocol and not as an amendment. This was just as a practical, uh, what do you call, uh, recap of what we did of the word protocol. And we have already done with that responsibility of maritime administration of the flag state, where the ship is registered. In case of India, The Maritime Administration, the government department responsible for implementing the country's law, which contains the convention. The Maritime Administration in India is DG shipping, all the MMDs are part of it. So therefore, it means technical provision is also the responsibility of the Maritime Administration of the flag state to ensure that the ships registered in their country are following the requirements of all the chapters of Solas with regard to conducting the applicable survey, and when the survey is conducted successfully, the applicable certificate has to be issued to the ship. And the most important thing is the format of every certificate is given in the appendix to the Solas Convention. No country has any other option. Only thing that changes is the letterhead. I mean, the logo or the name. In case of DG Shipping India, that for the Ashok Wala, the lion thing, that will be there. Directorate General of Shipping, Government of India, whatever the title is. That below that, the format has to be. And the final thing of the technical provision is also the fact that contracting government means any country of the world who has signed for it and thereafter ratified. Up till now, here in point three, we have dealt with the flag state. Now, the control measures to ensure that the thing is being followed. That is the fourth country. That they will also come forward to conduct the inspection. We do it in detail at ASN level. We don't get into that. But briefly, we have done it already, PSC part. The powers to those governments to conduct inspection on board visiting foreign ships to ensure that the basic standards of various aspects of the Solas Convention is being maintained. The focus being here, the 14th chapter deals with minimum standards with regard to all aspects of safety and security, responsibility of the government of the flag state, powers given to the government of the host state to conduct inspection of the visiting foreign ships. In the briefest possible way, these are the things. Let's take the chapters one by one. I think I should have written here, chapter one focuses on the government of the flag state or the ship directly. Because you will be surprised, all the 14 chapters do not involve US. But anyway, this is an extension of the technical provision. General provision here, the focus is on the government of country. What are their powers? With regard to flag state, it is the maritime administration of the flag state to conduct the survey. What will be the extent of survey? Initial survey, annual survey, intermediate survey, renewal survey. Sorry, the validity of the certificate, etc., which we have done in statutory and mandatory certificate. That is what it is. And the thing about the powers of the fourth state control, powers of the fourth state control, and the powers to detail the ship. Till the time it is not documented in law, it is law. They cannot just detail the ship when we are talking about uniform applicability of a convention developed at IMO or IMO. In this case, IMO. Now, so chapter one does not deal with UAP. It is to do with the powers of the flag state and the port state. One thing while I was talking about the survey, have I talked about periodical survey? What is a periodical survey? That's the question asked.
No, so we haven't done surveys yet.
they. Service, I may have touched upon कि भाई as an annual, intermediate, and your renewal service.
renewal.
So the point is that is not part of the syllabus. That is you have done it safety paper in your phase one. That is not asked that what is a renewal survey, what all items are checked. No, that is not what I'm saying. In oral, it is asked, what is a periodical survey? Have I done that? What is a periodical survey?
No, sir.
Okay, since we are talking about survey, first of all, since you said that we have got this survey, let me just help, not help, but as a recap to what you've done in space, right? Always remember the initial survey is when the certificate is being issued for the first time to the ship. It could be a new building or in case of change of flag में Panama से Liberia आएगा Liberia कहेगा भाई वो Panama तक ठीक है now the situation is finished now you are our part of our territory we will do all the surveys because we have to issue to the ship all the certificates. So any initial survey is a very extensive survey. It can last for a few days because the certificate is being issued new for a period of let's say 5 years. Thereafter, annual survey is on the anniversary date of the issue date of the certificate. After 12 months, plus minus 3 months, they always put plus minus few months because we know it. Yeah. Ship schedule cannot be fixed 100%. Then intermediate survey is halfway between the uh, uh, 5 year period. So it's up to the ship owner whether to make if it's a 5 year period, whether to consider the second annual survey or maximum the third annual survey and convert it into an intermediate survey. He will accordingly send that kind of request to the maritime administration of the flag state. So annual survey can be finished off within 1 or 2 hours. I mean, the survey just wants to check, but things are going on fine. 12 by day. Now the time has elapsed. The more he will increase the number of items to be checked, depending upon what it is, safety equipment, radio, construction, load line, whatever it is. It could be the second annual or the third annual will be converted into an intermediate. And finally, will be at the end of the 5 year period, plus minus 3 months, the renewal, the renewal survey. Now, a new certificate for next 5 years has to be issued. So therefore, the extent of the renewal survey will be very long. Virtually every item pertaining to that will be checked. And it can run for days. You say, except today, for example, a container ship doesn't stay in a port for days, it stays for hours. Yes. So this port, 6, 7 hours are spent. Next port, another 6, 7 hours are spent. At the end of that, okay, the renewal survey is complete and we issue a new certificate. So it can happen in different forms, in continuation, not an issue. That is up to the administration, that is the maritime administration. So these are the kind of survey. Now, at the reverse of entry of the statutory certificate, there are line and a complete line, column, rows, another line. That at every annual or applicable intermediate survey, the surveyor is supposed to put the initial that first annual survey done. Suppose the ship owner decides, I will convert the third annual survey into an intermediate survey for this particular thing. No problem. The first annual survey done, port, date, name of the surveyor, his signature, stamp, etc. Then below that, second annual survey done on so and so. Then the third annual survey, it will be written intermediate survey done here, etc., etc. Same, on the reverse of it. Are you with me till here?
Yes.
Finally, what is a periodical survey? This is applicable only in case of ships who have not yet gone for, like, remember statutory certificates we have done that, like we had passenger ship safety certificate validity 1 year. If it is a ships who are following that functionality, they have uh, cargo ship safety certificate validity 5 years, which is a combination of safety radio, safety equipment, and safety construction. So this is not applicable to that, but it is applicable to the ship where the safety radio survey and certificate is separate, safety equipment survey and certificate is different, safety construction survey and certificate is different, independent. So periodical survey is applicable in case of safety equipment. Why? In that because that certificate is valid for 2 years. If we take the case of safety radio certificate, by its validity for 1 year, every year the survey is it's a renewal survey. The validity is 1 year. Renewal survey, the certificate is renewed. In case of safety equipment, suppose the certificate was issued on 1st of January 2018. Its validity is uh, 1st January 2020. Before that, the renewal safety equipment survey has to be done and a new certificate has to be issued for next 2 years. So to prevent the confusion, the survey being done on 1st of January 2019, you can call it an annual survey. You can call it an intermediate survey. Are you with me till here?
Yes, sir.
So to prevent that confusion, yeah, ये annual survey मतलब the items checked will be less, intermediate survey item checked will be more. अब ये कौन सा वाला treat किया जाए to prevent that confusion? The second survey, second year, sorry, the first annual, it is not known as annual survey or intermediate survey. It is called a periodical survey. That safety equipment has initial survey, periodical survey, renewal survey. Are you with me till here?
सर समझ नहीं आया, कैन यू रिपीट सर? जो बेसिक
Okay.
डिफरेंस है फिर से फिर ठीक से।
Okay. Think of, let's say, safety construction certificate. Its validity is 5 years and it is supposed to have, as per the general provision, an annual survey, an intermediate survey, and a renewal survey. Annual, as the name suggests, कि जब वो certificate initially issue हुआ है, within a year, plus, I mean, in 12 months time, plus minus 3 months, 9 months to 15 months, depending on the schedule of the ship. The ship is supposed to be surveyed again, which will be called an annual survey because it is at the anniversary date, which will happen at the second, after 2 years, after 3 years, after 4 years, and in the fifth year, the certificate will be renewed after renewal survey. So that is very clear. So any certificate which is valid for 5 years, it is supposed to have an annual survey every year, and within the halfway line of the validity, अगर 5 years है तो 2.5 years. अब यार 2.5 को हम नहीं करते हैं, so either 2 years or 3 years में there has to be an intermediate survey, and finally near the period of expiry of the certificate, a final renewal survey is done and a new certificate is issued for the period of next 5 years. This is the case when the certificate is valid for 5 years. So, it's up to the ship owner to request the maritime administration whether to treat the second annual survey or third annual survey as an intermediate survey because it is required. So, ये तो its picture is very clear. Annual, intermediate, renewal survey. अब come in case of the safety equipment certificate, which is valid for 2 years. First January 2018 survey, a new certificate is issued valid for 2 years. That means before it will expire on 1st January 2020. Around before that, a renewal survey has to be done for a new certificate to be issued, again valid for 2 years. Are you with me till here?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So, 1st January 2018 कुछ नया सर्टिफिकेट हुआ, 1st January 2019 को 1 साल के बाद एक एनुअल सर्वे होना चाहिए. यस और नो, क्योंकि 12 महीने हो गए हैं. Correct. Now, because the validity of the certificate is only 2 years, so 1st January 2019 को you can call it annual survey या intermediate survey. Are you with me till here or not?
Yes.
So, to prevent the confusion कि in case of such a certificate जो 1 साल बाद जो सर्वे होगा वो annual होगा कि intermediate होगा. Why is the confusion? Because the number of items that are checked, that depends on the survey. Annual survey में किसी भी element पे the number of items checked are very small. Whereas in intermediate survey, the number of items that are checked increases. जहाज पे तुम और हम तो कंफ्यूज हो सकते हैं कि यार ये सेफ्टी इक्विपमेंट है, ये एनुअल सर्वे है कि इंटरमीडिएट सर्वे है. कम कम आइटम चेक होंगे कि ज्यादा आइटम चेक होंगे. So to prevent that confusion on such type of certificate which are valid for 2 years safety equipment, it is neither called an annual survey or intermediate survey. It is called a periodical survey. So prepare accordingly. Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Yes, sir. So, sir, in that survey, the items will be checked in a more stringent way, like in the intermediate survey as
Absolutely.
compared to annual.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will be more stringent as compared to अगर उसको annual survey मानते. So safety equipment always, whether periodical survey or renewal survey, they bloody check the whole thing. They take it very seriously. Very good point. So now that means you have followed it. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, moving on to chapter 2. Now, there are two parts to it. Now, by the way, whether it is this chapter 1 or 2, they are all written in Romans, you know. And that's why chapter 2-1 deals with ship construction requirements. So, by the way, chapter 1 doesn't deal with UNB. It is dealing with the maritime administration of the flag state, maritime administration of the port country. Now, this deals with UNB, that what all things that have to be maintained on board the ship. Although we don't do it, it is all constructed by the shipyard, but we maintain it. For the ship construction requirement, all the formulas are there. What will be the turn of the build? What is the size of the maximum tank, etc. Height of the minimum height of the DV, all that jazz. Then subdivision of passenger ship and maintaining minimum, what do you call, intact and damage stability requirement, installation of machinery, and your electrical installation, etc. Basically, the point is that the ship construction certificate is issued as per chapter 2 guide. And it will also have, you know, what are the ship construction survey requirements, तो क्या क्या चेक होना चाहिए in annual survey. ship construction intermediate survey, there has to be a dry dock once in 5 year period. A dry dock में क्या क्या check हो रहा चाहिए, all that is here. Now, I will just digress a little bit. Your load line survey for the April patch would have been done by Captain Puri. The subdivision of passenger ship is governed by two things, two conventions. One is the load line convention and one is Chapter 2-1 of the Solas. So, passenger ship subdivision, initially the load lines are marked and calculated as per the load line convention like any other applicable ship of 24 meters and greater in length. In case of passenger ship where the level of minimum freeboard has to be increased, so another line marked as C, Charlie or Charlie 1, C or C1 is put below the lowest load line mark. Lowest load line mark is always WNA, Winter North Atlantic. And whatever the line C or C1 may be, when the ship is not in balance but carrying passengers, as the load line mark C cannot be submerged. That load line mark is based on the subdivision requirements of Chapter 2.1. Why it is marked as C? C means the convention, in this case, convention of Solas. You would have done it, but I just like to say. Okay. This is also a very common question. I've seen, and I'll be doing it on Friday, the gold-based standards of IMO. You have gold-based standards for tankers and bulk carriers. Then you have BMP, best management practice for piracy. And this is booklet with IMO, but here they have put it into law as part of 2.1 for effective 2010, requiring new ships, that is tankers, oil tankers, and bulkers, to be designed and constructed for a specified design life. Let's say not more than 20 years after that, they have to be scrapped, and to be safe and environmental friendly throughout their life, their level of safety is enhanced, and I'll be doing that separately on Friday. Chapter 2-2 again deals with you and me. All firefighting requirements on board the ship is governed by 2-2. So, as part of safety equipment, it is LSA and FFA. So, it is governed by Chapter 2-2 and the next chapter that I'm coming, Chapter 3, because that is LSA. And the most important thing is why you may say, sir, why it is part of this construction thing. The whole idea is that for any firefighting principle, any kind of ship is divided into vertical zones, which can be isolated and the fire limited in that vertical zone and fought. Fire can be extinguished. If it is not divided into vertical zones, then the fire can very quickly travel to the entire ship. So that's why at the end of each of these zones, the separation is by fire bulkhead, which you would have done in construction. So Captain Puri, what is a fire bulkhead? What is the special thing? The whole principle of firefighting. By the way, there is fire safety, International Fire Safety Systems Code. As per this chapter, this code is mandatory. So you will all, it's a patla, very patla text, blackish cover with fire, plain made. You'll find it in the library on the bridge. You just go through it. All the firefighting equipment required, what kind of training, fire drills, etc. Everything, because it is mandatory, it has to be on this. And the principle is divided. It is based on 4 very specific principles. That is the whole concept of fire. from construction point of view. Number one, division of ship into main vertical zone by thermal and structural boundaries. That is your fire bulkhead. It prevents to the best of its constructional or sea capabilities for the fire to shift from one vertical compartment to another. Second, restricted use of combustible material. We know that. Detection of fire in the zone of origin. How is that done? You have the alarm panel on the bridge, which specific zone the fire is, and ready availability of fire extinguishing appliances, depending on the ship type. And where you will find the minimum fire extinguishing appliances, based on ship type, you will find it in the fire system safety code, which is a separate code. Part of this, you may say कि सर इसमें क्यों नहीं लिखा? अरे हर कोड इसमें करेंगे तो अभी वैसे ही ऑलमोस्ट 580 पेज का है, वो 1500 पेज का हो जाएगा सोलर, तो यार को कोई नहीं छुएगा. Coming to chapter 3, life saving appliances. So that's why the uh, safety equipment, which includes LSA and FFA, which is chapter 3 LSA, and FFA chapter 2-2. Requirement for life saving drills, etc., etc. And again, the life saving appliances code is mandatory for ships to use. All the details that what should be the LSA equipment to be put on the ship, equipment in the lifeboat, the life craft, survival craft, not survival, rescue boat, everything, it's all there. Chapter 4. Why I brought take so much time in all the chapters? That okay, I focus on the ship first, but you must have an idea of the thing. So, chapter 1 dealt with the government, not the ship. Chapter 2-1 dealt with us, but focused on the construction requirement. Our job was to maintain the thing, prepare the ship for the applicable ship construction service. Correct? As the other part. 2-2 directly with it, preparedness for firefighting. Chapter 3 again directly dealt with us, preparedness for life saving. Chapter 4 directly again dealing with us, our training to handle the GMDSS equipment on board the ship, because this is the chapter which incorporated the GMDSS primarily for search and rescue. That was the required. That is how it started. That is how it started. But again, okay, as communication technology got enhanced, so we benefit. So our training and use of EPIRBs and SART, etc., and the GMDSS equipment, which we accomplished by special our GOC license after the GMDSS training. So, very difficult course. So anyway, chapter 5 is safety of navigation. You and I again directly come into the picture. The weather, all the guidance on passage planning, the safe manning requirements which have to be maintained, certified by the flag state, what all navigational equipment has to be carried on the bridge as a minimum given in this, and the responsibility of the master to proceed on hearing a distress call. So we are talking about passage planning, dealing with ships, all the equipment, navigational equipment to be carried and maintained on the ship, dealing with ships, USV, maintaining safe manning at all times, confirmed by flag state responsibility, but responsibility of the ship and master and mate, that is safe manning, responsibility of the masters to produce, not produce, proceed on dismiss, and any other navigational safety. It also deals with the government, coastal government responsibility to maintain the navigational aids, etc. Everything is dealt with in safety of navigation. So you will say, oh, I forgot here. Radio communication, the certificate issued is okay, safety radio, 1 year validity if it's not part of the combination certificate valid for 5 years. Safety of navigation with or the certificate issued in this case, your safe manning certificate is Chapter 5 Solar. Passage planning requirement as per this. And as an amendment to this chapter, eventually it made the carriage of VDR, XS, and AIS mandatory. This was as part of this chapter. Are you with me till here, guys?
Yes, sir.
Chapter 6 is carriage of cargo, but actually it is carriage of dry cargo because this chapter does not deal with carriage of liquid cargoes or gaseous cargoes in bulk of that because it is dealt with in a separate chapter, that is chapter 7, that not only in bulk but dangerous cargo and package first, which because of the very specific hazards requires additional precautions. So it is not dealt with. So when we are talking about carriage of cargo, the details of stowage and securing of cargo, that is container lashing, container unit or other unit lashing, is all covered here. It includes stowage and securing of cargo and cargo units as this, and it is mandatory for ships carrying grain to comply with the International Grain Code. We have done the certificate, mandatory certificate, document of compliance for carriage of grain. Remember that? Yes, we did it in mandatory certificate. Only that certificate is with no validity, it's validity for life. It is associated with this chapter. Next is chapter 7, that we are dealing with carriage of dangerous goods, whether in bulk or in package form. This is divided into 4 parts. Part A deals with carriage of dangerous goods in package form. So therefore, as per Part A, the IMDG code is maintained. Are you with me till here?
Yes, sir.
The second part, second of the 4th part, Part B, it is dealing with chemical tankers only or products also, of course. So mainly chemical tankers. As per this, whether it is the construction, equipment maintenance requirement, the bulk chemical code is mandatory. Part C, dealing with gas carriers, IGC code mandatory. Everything, whatever is written in this, Part C small, focus goes to IGC code. The part B is interesting. You may not have heard about the INF code. In shorter form, it is called irradiated, irradiated nuclear fuel code. Now, what is irradiated? Irradiated is, you will very rarely come across, already burned out, already used nuclear material, which in certain cases can have other use for peaceful purposes, not for making a bomb. And there are only two countries which are involved in the trade of burnt and already used nuclear fuel and material, or already used of waste, plutonium and radioactive waste. France and Japan. France is the exporter, Japan is the importer. They have some use. They have the technology. Japanese are smart. And in Indian room, you would have seen a boiler. It's a huge cylindrical thing. There are only two ships existing about which can carry this kind of burnt nuclear fuel. It is as big or maybe bigger, double the size of a boiler. It's a cylindrical thing, that thick glass with I don't know how many gauges. And in that ship, one or two, and those huge boiler-like cylindrical things, they are called flasks. We use the thermos flask to carry cold coffee or something. But imagine that 1,000 or 2,000 times enlarged, like a boiler, with that thick a glass. So, uh, if it's a single INF carriage ship, they will be from forward to aft one hold. It is loaded there, maximum level of security, very strict like if they only two ships. Loaded in Japan, sent to loaded in France, sent to Japan, come back in balance. Maybe once or twice in a year, it makes a voyage, whatever. If there's more than one class be carried, so there can be two such long compartments, the length of the ship would be four. It's a normal power-driven vessel, but the loading arrangement is different. And the most important thing is it's a very dangerous thing, because God forbid if the ship meets with an accident, all the that area in the marine environment will become radioactive. So, before the ship departs from France, and whichever country's coast or EEZ the ship is passing, as per the passage plan, the ship has to take permission. And most of the countries they deny permission. I've dealt with this practically, that's why I'm sharing with you. Otherwise, you will not hear about it. Sometimes you ask, hey, what is INF code and what is irradiated nuclear fuel? That kind of. So, if the ship is coming from France, okay, it will quickly pass through English Channel and stuff. It will not go through Panama Canal, close to Cuba, Jamaica, or Dominican Republic. They all refuse, probably. So it comes all the way through Atlantic Ocean. Argentina does not allow it to pass through River de Plata also. So it goes absolutely way distant south of Cape Horn, right across Pacific Ocean, goes to Japan. A 2.5 months voyage. Very slow ship. So this is only applicable, mandatory to those two ships who are involved in this. It does not deal with you and me. Are you with me?
Yes.
So let's take a break, and I will complete a quick run through chapter 8 to chapter 14 on Friday, and then I will touch upon the specific questions. There are just 3 4. Before that, I'll send it to you. Not to worry. All the 3 back. So your next lecture is, next two lectures, 10:15 to 11:15 and 11:30 to 12:30 is Mr. Prasoon Sinha. So, gentlemen, enjoy your break. Have a good day, and I'll see you in a couple of days, and we will wrap up the Solas. Thank you, all of you, and thank you.
Dangers involved. So it was divided into four parts. At last, on Tuesday, we had done the INF code, and I had explained that irradiated nuclear fuel, a very specialized race between France and Japan. And with it does not deal with us because it requires very special training to sail on those ships, and we are not involved. But from your oral's point of view, it's a very common question to ensure that you are aware of something called as the INF code. So it is asked that what is INF code and what is the meaning of irradiated nuclear fuel? It means a burnt out or wasted nuclear material which can further be used. That's all you have to say. Moving on from chapter 8 to chapter 40, the last chapter of Solas, the chapter 8 is nuclear ships. The important point is do not confuse this with part D of chapter 7 because we are here also we are talking about nuclear waste, nuclear material which is irradiated, which is already wasted for further peaceful uses. But this nuclear ships is okay because all conventions are very futuristic. It was around the beginning of 80s that naval ships around the world and naval submarine, I mean, obviously, submarines had started using nuclear energy as their bunkers. You know, they have the nuclear reactors. So IMO acting proactively that, okay, this is very likely to be the future where merchant ships also will be run. Their main propulsion power will be, nuclear energy instead of your heavy fuel oil or blended oil. It is very cheap, very powerful, environmentally friendly, etc. It can be made. So, chapter 8 presently does not deal with you and me because I have at least not heard of, or देखना तो दूर की बात है, that engine room is governed as having a nuclear reactor. But what you and I are supposed to know is that this chapter deals with those kind of ships and the special hazards which are connected with nuclear energy. Because any person in nuclear power plant, what you're seeing on television, that the doctors are wearing that full disposable overall over the boiler suit. Anyone entering the engine room will have to wear that and with mask and everything to prevent any kind of nuclear hazard. And that you just have to remember that there was a guideline as per the resolution of IMO Assembly going back to 1981. That's all. Chapter 9 is dealing with ISM code, which makes it mandatory. And because this is the most practical aspect of ship operation, although we cover in very detail the ISM code in ASM. But there are a couple of things, not from your written, from your oral and your practicality, two things that I'd like to highlight. You know, a number of times a person appearing for oral, makes oral, unfortunately starts on a wrong footing. That is the reason that I am taking time to briefly, go into the chapters. Okay? Somewhere आपको वो याद रहेगा. A person sitter wishes the survey. ISM code is which chapter of Solas? Now, okay, I know 99.9% all of you would know, but these are the things that I need to tell you about the chapter. And number two, when we talk about ISM code, a very important point to be known is that if we take, let's say, the ship, a non-living thing, the ship, which are the conventions, very technical in nature, which are directly dealing with the structure of the ship. Solas, Marpole, load line. There are others also like tonnage, etc. But these are the basic ones, directly dealing with the ship, measurement of freeboard, safety, prevention of pollution, etc. etc. That is the ship. When we take the seafarer, the convention directly dealing with the seafarer is there are two of them, STCW plus the Maritime Labour Convention of IM. Okay, SID also, but okay, we focus on these. The important point is there are three distinct people that I want to highlight: the ship, the seafarer, and the ship owner. The point to understand is that ISM code has been exclusively developed for the ship owner, not for you and me. We are the end users of it and part of that system. But it has been developed for the ship owner. What does that mean? That after ISM code came into force, ship owner is now legally responsible for the safe operation of his ships and for prevention of pollution from his ships. It is documented. He was responsible, but he's a businessman that he will protect his asset. Multi-million-dollar asset, yes. But now legally, you, Mr. Shipowner, is responsible. And one of the most important things as part of ISM code is they have clarified all ambiguities, any doubts with regard to the concept of a ship owner. See, in maritime law, admiralty law, what is always mentioned is the ship owner, the registered owner of the ship. The concept of ship management companies or a ship manager or a bareboat charterer who just picks up the ship and starts behaving like an owner, these are very recent developments applicable to modern day shipping. But you can't change the historic maritime law that we start including all this. There it remains the ship owner. Now, I'll tell you the background because this will help you answer maybe a XYZ question in your orals also. Before ISM code, क्या होता था? Suppose you are a ship owner. You have opened up some ABC shipping company in Liberia. And inside that ABC shipping, which will be a coca, one broken table, one broken chair inside, nice shining board, always under lock, you have put one representative somewhere, sitting somewhere. And under the law of Liberia, you have the representative, your representative has given the ship to you for management. So under the law of Liberia, the registered owner is the representative and you who are the actual owner on paper legally has become the ship manager. Now, if the ship is involved in an incident where the matter goes to court and the government says the ship owner has to pay so many $1 million fine, they go to that representative. He said, damn it, I don't even know where the ship is. I've given to that guy for management. Go to him. They go to that guy. He says, yes, I know the ship has been involved in your territory in an incident. But as per law, your problem is with ship owner or the ship manager? Ship owner. I am the ship manager. See, this is my letter. Go back to the ship owner. Nobody used to get caught. And this is a fact. I'm talking about 30 years ago. ISM code has taken care of all of that. They say we don't care what jiggly pooty is happening between representative, ship owner, ship manager, charterer, bareboat charter. We don't give a damn. As per the law of ISM code, the company or the person who is responsible for day-to-day management, running, operation of the ship, as per the law of ISM code, is the ship owner, and that person or that company neck is in the line. You are legally responsible. So, you would have seen on the ship your SMS, the safety management system manuals. Suppose you are Williamson Ship Management, Volume, Dynacom, or your fleet management. Your SMS manuals on the page, your heading is not of some ABC ship owner. It is the management company's heading, correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because as per the law of ISF code and the definition of ship owner, if it is fleet, well, if something happens on the ship regarding to safety, propulsion, you be prepared, we are going to question you. We don't care who the owner is and what your arrangement with the owner is. So practically what has happened is because the legal responsibility on the management company and the ISF code has increased so much, so they have increased their management fees with the owner. That is practical, we don't get into it. At the moment, phase 2 level, you're supposed to know that much about the management of the ship. This is directly dealing the ship owner. After that, the ship, on the ship, you and me focus on the seafarer, focus on the ship. Next is, we don't deal with this, okay. High speed craft, basically to deal with hovercraft. As per chapter 10, that has become mandatory. There's a code separately, what all things have to be done. We don't go into that. Now, focus, we come into chapter 11-1. This is something, this is something that does not deal with you and me. It is to do with the government of a country, whether it is the flag country or the port state control mechanism. What does it basically say? It enhances maritime safety because it started becoming more and more common that the maritime administration of quite a few number of flag states, they were outsourcing their job to another organization, mainly classification societies, to do the surveys and issue the certificates on their behalf. But the responsibility always remains of the maritime administration. So, since they are known on behalf of the flag state government, the maritime administration as RO, the recognized organization. So, the chapter 11-1 deals with that, okay, if you, the maritime administration of the flag country, you want to outsource your work to the class, to one of the classification societies, which we will refer to as RO, then make sure that they are doing a proper job on your behalf because the responsibility is yours, we'll catch you. We'll hold you responsible. So that has been enhanced. And further, this also deals with extended powers to the port state controls to check the visiting foreign ships and with the powers to detain. I've already discussed that if it is a threat, which has been called deficiency, will be detained. So enhanced maritime safety is does not deal directly with you and me as that, okay, what you and I have to do regarding the ship. No, this is government related. So this deals with that. But 11-2 to enhance maritime security directly involves you and me. We are talking about this chapter makes the ISPS code 100% mandatory for all ships to follow. Now, a few things. The most important thing is when we talk about ISPS code, not even for a single second, I'm emphasizing on not even for a single second, any ship in the world cannot, repeat, cannot exist without complying with the requirements of the ISPS code. Whether the ship is out at sea, at anchorage, in river, lakes, it piloted alongside, irrespective of anything, not even for a single second can the ship exist without complying with the ISPS code. And that is proved by a valid international ship security certificate. That's point number one. Most important thing for a written, oral, or whatever practice. As per the requirements of ISPS code, the ship is required to have a ship security plan. Who develops it? Of course, the company. The person responsible is company security officer. It's up to the ship owner whom he or she wants to designate the CSO. Once the plan is developed, it's a compendium with various security levels and actions for the ship to take at wherever it may be, because it is as per the law of Solas, law being the baby of the flag state. So CSO sends the plan to the maritime administration of the flag state for approval. Once it is approved, signed, and stamped, it is placed on board the ship. The most important thing for you to know, not that you already not know it, that it is a confidential document of the ship. No authority whatsoever in the world can dare open the cover of the compendium of the ship security plan. The port state control inspector can only confirm, Captain, do you have an SSP on board? Yes, I have. Where it is? From far away, you can show, okay, all that thing is there. Can I have a look? Sorry, this is a confidential document of the ship. Sometimes they ask, there's kind of a fairy question to ensure that अगर गलती से दिखा दिया, it's a cause for detention. You're not supposed to, you're supposed to know as the master mate that it is confidential, number one. The security level of the ship is always set by the flag state. It is the responsibility of the CSO to confirm with the flag state, government of the flag state, that what security level has it decided to maintain for its ships wherever they might be in international waters, because it is part of the territory of the flag state. But the moment a ship crosses into the territorial sea, the territory of a country, if the if the security level of that country, port country, is higher, the ship has to increase the level of security. And before arriving that situation, responsibility of the CSO to inform the SSO, which is normally the master, to increase the security level. If the security level is already higher and that of the port is lower, they never ask you to lower it, because you're going to be there for a few hours or 1 or 2 days. It's an error on the safe side. So, but for the ISPS code. Now, one very important part is, which we will see in the safety of navigation, where after this I have prepared the note which I'm going to send to all the April, May, and June batches. It is a new one on Solas, and I'll tell you what. But since we are talking about ISPS and maritime security, there is a documented regulation in chapter 11.2 pertaining to the ISPS code. It is the master's ultimate responsibility, authority, and power to do everything possible to ensure that the security of the ship is not jeopardized. He can throw everything out of the porthole to maintain the safety and security of the ship. And therefore, it is written down. The company will not interfere, and nor the master will be constrained or under pressure, company charter or any person, to take an action which can jeopardize the security of the people under his command and the ship on which he is the master. It is written down because sometimes it can happen. Are you with me till here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, chapter 12, I'll be taking separately because it's a very common question, and I made a very nice note, which I'll be sending it to you, but I'll show it to you. Additional safety measures for bulk carriers. And let me come to that word document, but it is applicable to bulk carriers 150 meters or more in length. What was the reason for it? Why among the different types of ships in before the chapter 12 came into existence in 1999, 15 years before 1999, we're talking about, let's say, 84, 85 to 1999, 697 lives were lost as a result of bulk carrier sinking. It became a very, very big issue in IMO. The things are happening. Bulk carriers are being lost. Apart from the monetary asset loss, so many lives are losing because bulk carriers, they just go down in seconds, minutes. But I'll come to that. So a brief understanding, because it's a very common question, additional safety measure for bulk carriers, full 25-mark question, what you're going to write, how, what, I'll be coming to that. Chapter 13 again does not involve you and me. It is a matter directly between the IMO and the government of the member countries. Yeah, I have mentioned that out of the 194 countries, 193 are members of UN. Out of them, 173 countries are members of IMO. So a move started, and all the countries, they agreed. Okay, fine. That after all, the responsibility of implementing the convention rests with the maritime administration or the government of the country who has signed and ratified. We have done that. The buck stops there. Why not create a mechanism that IMO will send its auditors to audit the maritime administration of any country, member country of IMO? If it has ships registered in the country, so it is also a flag country, that role will be audited. How do you ensure implementation of the convention? Maybe anything. And of course, it's involved with trade. It is also acting as a port state control, the same maritime administration, whatever the application may be. But because the sovereignty of a country is supreme, nobody can say to pull up your socks. Oh, we are sending our auditors. Prepare yourself for audit. No authority, including IMO, can tell any government. So, before 2016, I'm talking about, let's say, 2010 to 2012, it was only a voluntary scheme. Right? If the country says, yeah, this is a good thing, any kind of audit is not a blame game. It is not finger pointing. It's an unknown person, and IMO, we are also part of the same organization. They organize some qualified top-notch auditors. They will come and audit our system. Well, something that we may have overlooked, they will tell us to do in a better way. So they used to approach, okay, now we are prepared. You can, on so and so date in next 6 months, we'll be prepared, and let's have the audit. So for that, IMO developed this code. Some people call it 3 code. It is not 3, it is triple I. Implementation of IMO instruments code. Instruments, it's a legal word to call convention, a resolution, a recommendation, guideline. All this collectively, they are called legal instruments. Not instrument like gas measuring instrument. No, it is, we are talking about that. But at the first country, I think in 2011, to invite auditors from IMO to audit its system, the government, maritime administration, was Denmark. First, P. And after that, a number of countries started inviting, including India. I mean, India means Maritime Administration, that is DG Shipping and all the MMDs. It is a very long drawn audit, and they give a report for you to act upon, just like any audit. When over a 5 year period, it started showing very positive results, then countries themselves volunteered and said, okay, we are giving it in writing and agreeing upon, forget voluntary, make it mandatory. I said, fair enough. We are not saying that you are an independent country, nothing can be forced upon you. But if you say we want it mandatory, clap, clap, 10 on 10. So effective 1st January 2016, audit of the Maritime Administration has become mandatory. Every once in, I think, 5 years, countries say that, okay, next 3 months from, let's say, on 1st of January, they inform the IMO that, okay, anytime after 15th April, we would be prepared for an audit of the maritime administration of a country under III code, kindly inform. It does not deal with you and me, but a very common question in your oral, so I had to inform you about it. Finally, the last chapter is navigating in polar waters. Polar water does not mean the Arctic area. It means 70 degrees, or let's say safer thing, 65 degrees and above. Ice-bound areas, some throughout the year, some you can say only in the winter months. But the important part for you, only know, because the polar code is part of the syllabus in ASM. But what you are supposed to know in the last chapter is that the entire polar code is not yet mandatory. Only the introduction and part 1A of the polar code have been mandatory, applicable to the ships navigating in those areas. The precautions from the navigational equipment, navigating in ice with or without icebreaker, it covers all that. Introduction and part 1A. The remainder of the code is still recommendatory and as a guideline. So, gentlemen, this is what your entire thing about Solas was. If okay, I'd like to close the PPT, and with your permission, I'd like to show you a DGS Q&A specific to Solas, which I'll be sending you after this lecture, all the three battles. Are you with me? Any questions? Otherwise, I can take this away, and I'd like to bring that that Word document on the screen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great. Confirm that you can see the Word document on the screen.
Yes.
No, I've seen the past 10 odd papers. It is Solas related, it is only coming with regard to this. Okay. Some part of it we have already covered in the slide. Salient features regarding construction. This is chapter 2-1. This is the answer. Okay, this is the question and board. There's the answer. And why is this? Let me correct this. Why is this? No, that's right. Chapter 5, safety, which assesses enhancing maritime safety. It's a very small, by the time you write, it'll take one whole page, and that is good enough, maybe a little more than that. Cold base standards regarding AIS pilot transfer arrangement lifeboat on load release mechanism 2010-11 amendment. It is one by one, but you just have to go through a number of types so that you can remember most of it. Don't spend time on memorizing. We have crossed that stage. Now, principle of safe manning, Solas chapter 5. Now, this is what I want to uh, highlight something. Is it no, not part of safe barrack, but obligation of master as per chapter 5 of Solas. This is to do what I said I may have done when I was talking about, or Captain Naveed Tiwari, when you're talking about I am SAR. Never take the distance from your ship to the position of the ship that might be in distress. It may happen that the distress call that you have received could be 300 miles, and you may be the only ship in that region. You have to proceed. It is there by law. And who is going to tell you that you are the only ship when your master is supposed to get in touch with MRCC closest? Where do you get that information? Applicable ARS. Who's the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center? There you are supposed to say, I've received the distress call. This is my coordinate. As per the message received, we are 300 miles. They will inform you because through the satellite, they know the whole thing. Again, you may be 30 miles off still before proceeding. Okay, you alter course, go and start proceeding in that direction at full speed. But whether to continue or not, and before making the logbook entry, this is I'm telling you from all written, oral, and practical point of view, that yes, I'm confirming that we are proceeding in that direction. You're still supposed to confirm from the MRCC because you may be 30 miles off, but 3 ships closer than you. MRCC will say, no, ships are on the way who will reach faster, please continue on your way. So you are supposed to make that logbook entry, deck logbook, official logbook. Entry number 1, distress call received, altered course proceeding. MRCC contacted, instruction received, continue to proceed. If not, again, MRCC advises to continue on the voyage, other ships closer. Distress cancelled. Finally, another important thing is, this has come, okay, you will say, these are all master's responsibility, but remember, you're going to be a mate. You are second in command. 99.999% nothing happens to the master. So that's very, very sad that if something happens, then you are supposed to assume command. I don't know where you might be. You're supposed to have a basic knowledge. Otherwise, everything else is covered in ASL. But also, the most important thing as second in command, you're supposed to advise the master. And you'd only be able to provide correct advice if you know his roles and responsibilities and your own. So discretion of the master with regard to safety of life, property, environment, navigation, whatever, is this. The owner, etc., any other shall not prevent or restrict the master of the ship from executing any decision which in the master's professional judgment is necessary for safety of life at sea and protection of the marine environment. Master's presence, authority, and power is supreme on the ship under his command. Keep that in mind. And I've just talked about the word company based on what we're talking about an ISM code. Now, what this, I want you to go through in detail about the carriage of equipment. You carry this document, share it with whoever you want. The more you share, happier I am. Okay, there are certain things, not what I've sent you. That is very exclusive. Takes a lot of time. But this is, you can carry it on the thumb drive. The equipment carriage requirement as per Solas. And this is a very long drawn thing. I'm not expecting that, or for a 12, 13, or a 25 mark question, you're going to spend 1 hour in answering. No. Go through it twice, thrice, you'll remember most of it. But it will come in very handy that what is the equipment carriage requirement that is supposed to be there on the ship. Okay, it says about passenger ship also, but I've never seen a question which says on passenger ship. It says a ship, we mean cargo ship. that you can ignore. What I'm coming towards is, okay, logbook entries regarding steering gear and emergency drill. Very, very, very common question. And will, you will, it's a very small answer. Now, coming to a very important thing from all angles. This additional safety measures for bulk carriers is a full body 25 mark question. That means they're supposed to write minimum 2.5 to 3 pages. And I've already showed you the important, and that is to do with why the accident happened. Most of the time, what used to happen in bad weather, for any reason, if they were normally constructed, and somehow the famous Derbyshire incident where the water first entered into the Four Peak stores because the booby hatch was not lashed from inside properly, ship went out, the swell was so heavy, hatch number 1 pontoon caved in, full ingress of water, immediately second pontoon of hatch number 2 caved in. It became like this with a matter of 12 minutes. Derbyshire sank with 44 people. It was British registered, all British national with 4 wives on board. Sank. Structural failure and flooding. So, water enters hold number 1. Weight of the water and cargo in hold number 1 forces the transfer water by tight bulkhead to collapse here. Hold number 2 fills up. Ship sinks as soon as hold number 1 and 2 are flooded. That's why it goes down in minutes as compared to any other type of ship. So, keeping that in mind, what were the additional safety measures? What was restrictions of cargo? Why this was put? Because you can't get rid of existing bulk carriers. For existing bulk carriers, the cargo density, this related like ore, bauxite, cement, everything, you're supposed to have that kind of uh, strengthened. You're not supposed to change anything else, but for existing ship, this is what was there, that which meet the new requirement by means of cargo carrying restriction, that okay, we will not carry this, must be marked with a solid equilateral triangle on the hull at midships below the deck line. You would have seen it. So it means that it is an existing bulk carrier built before 1st January 1999. It is not therefore certified to carry all kinds of bulk cargo. There are restrictions that it is mentioned in the specialized certificate, but will be there with them all. New ships, of course, they will be having the structural requirements, that is that higher, much thicker, stronger steel pontoons, hatch combing, hatch number 1 and 2, and all the bulkheads separating the cargo holds have to be corrugated. Here, they have to be the corrugated bulkhead. This is not corrugated, this is the beam. Corrugation always increase the strength. In absence of corrugation, the next option is that it's a flat bulkhead, vertical bulkhead, and on one side there are those vertical beams. Now that is not only expensive, because corrugated bulkhead, you make the corrugation by heating and bending and welding some part of it, which is tested. But putting the beams, vertical beams of paved bulkhead, A, it is expensive, it is, and number 2, it is adding unnecessary weight to the light ships. So that's why corrugation was mentioned, and cargo requirement. Hatch cover, I've already mentioned. Let me because I'm going to be sending you immediately after this lecture. And I'll be showing you in another diagram, which will be part of this. It will become all the more clear. All this, what I'm discussing, is there in that diagram. First 0.5 of the length obviously means hatch number 1 and 2. And hand survey program means that the new ship has to be built with a specific life in mind, along with the class and the maritime administration over a period of 5 or 6 months. Survey program has to be conducted. And depending on the age of the ship, suppose it's a 15-year-old ship, then which all parts will have ultrasound gauging, how frequently the dry dock has to be done, enhanced survey program just to ensure that the designated planned life in which the bulk carrier has been constructed, throughout its life, it will continue to maintain the exact strength as per chapter 12 of Solas. That I've already said about stronger new ships, increase the strength of the bulkheads, improving cargo handling practices, that the inside of the hold, the tank top of the TB tank, has to be of additional thickness because to prevent any kind of damage to the, the tank top with the grabs. And also, it is not only time of the discharging, the or for that example, if it is loading at a very high rate, it is heavy weight that is hitting. दिखने में तो वो powder लगता है, but damn it is so heavy, it is hitting the bulkhead. The tank top, that can get cracked. So in the case of the frames. So that cargo handling practices, then every bulk carrier is supposed to have a load indicator. It's a requirement. पहले नहीं था. And last, why a free fall lifeboat? Worst case scenario, because the bulk carriers tend to have the dominoes effect, they go down very, very quickly with giving very little time. Ships sink as soon as hole number 1 and 2 are flooded. That was before, but okay, that element still exists, but reduced. It gives very little time for the crew to man and lower the lifeboat. The new ship, they have to be having free fall lifeboat, making bulk carriers safe. This is what it is, the new thing, stronger new ships. This is corrugated bulkhead. Okay, existing ships up to the order. If he wants this, otherwise he will be restricting his cargo. And if he's meeting the structural requirement to restrict the cargo, this is the triangle that I'm just missing. Okay, improving cargo handling practices, loading instrument, enhanced survey program. In a gist, this whole thing is your bulk carrier safety, a very common question, but I took time to develop it. So if it is okay with all of you, any questions, we can break for lunch. But before that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I will be having classes in phase 2 on Monday and Tuesday, which would be the last 2 days for April batch phase 2, because from Wednesday the 7th their exam are going to start, and if not by this evening, by tomorrow you will have the final exam scheduled either on the group or mailed to you by your course coordinator. So if I'm having any class on Monday or Tuesday, I'll see whether I revise or I focus on the June and July batches, and you can sit through as a recap, but I'll take that call next week. In case if I do not have any class, I would like to thank the April batch with whom I am having the last lecture, supposedly. Please forgive me that we were barely able to have the first lecture on 15th of April, the first day, and that afternoon onwards, I had COVID and I was down for over a month. But thanks for all your support, adjustment, and still I'm happy with the additional lecture that pushing myself. I've been able to very successfully completed your entire law syllabus. And believe me, it was a pleasure being with you. I believe in keeping lifelong relationships. You have my Gmail ID. We can always remain in touch. So it's a big thank you to the April batch for being there. I learned a lot from my very dear students. So if you have anything to say, confirm. And with regard to the May and June batch, we continue in full swing without any breaks. So any response, questions, comments from any one of you, gentlemen?
It was nice to see you again and study from you again after 4 years after
Oh,
phase.